Shalom, shalom. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. First and foremost, giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. On a human level, want to give due respect and benevolence to a man who I respect as an advisor and as an elder, Nasi Zipor, or Prince Zipor, known by that title by many. Giving a shout out to my brother, Chief Malachi, who assists in many times when we are doing the Torah portions. Giving due respect to a person I knew for many years, going over 30 years, Nasi Kamul, who is an elder to me that I knew for as stated, many years. And actually, he officiated in part at my mother's funeral. Just like the brother Chief Malachi was there as one of the pole bearers. So we kind of have a history in this, you know? Just want that to be noted. Also giving a shout out and respect to the brother Chief Yashar, who for many who may know or may not know, is kind of like the backup person behind these kind of things and teachings that go on. All right? And for what it's worth, giving a shout out to the people where I do these videos at. I'm not home. Somebody allows me to use the space in the internet for this, you know, so I'm not going to say their name because they wouldn't want that online. But you know who you are, so give respect. May the Most High bless you for that. We're going to get into a portion called the word Equeb, all right? And it basically is translated as reward, from the root word akwab, all right, which means to follow. From the Hebrew word Equeb, which also means heel, like the heel of your foot. All right, so we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, starts in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. It shall come to pass, because you hearken to these ordinances, and keep and do them, that the Most High your King will keep with thee the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto your fathers. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, thy corn and thy wine and thy oil, the increase of thy kind and the young of thy flock, and the land which he swore unto your fathers to give thee. We have to understand that the children of Israel descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this law was to be taught from generation to generation. So when you read the aspect of saying your fathers, it's still speaking to the later generations of Israel about their immediate ancestors. All right, so we want that to be noted for reason and purposes. All right, let's go on. Thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. And the Most High will take away from thee all sickness, and he will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt which thou knowest upon thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the peoples which the Most High thy King shall deliver unto thee. Thine eyes shall not pity them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, but that will be a snare unto you. All right, a snare, in other words, something that is not good, like enticing, if you want to say. You understand? Some of the gods that it's talking about is the Baalim and the Asherah. Some of those gods that it's talking about is the Molech, which is related to in their idolatrous practices, the Milchom, all right? The Ashima that you read of in the book of Kings, all right? The Ashtarot, or what they call the Malka Shemaya, which they refer to as the Queen Mother of Heaven, supposedly in that particular regard. So we want that to be noted. That right there was certain things that Israelites naming their children Hebrew names, but then still practicing idolatry. This is why you find some archaeologists who want to sit there and state that that ancient Israel coupled the Most High in their culture with the gods of the other nations. No, ancient Israel coupled idolatry, not their culture, but idolatry with the gods of other nations. The Most High does not have a wife called Asherah, like some people were trying to say. So we just want you know, that particular thing to be noted for a reason and purposes. Okay, now it says here emphatically that the Most High will take away from thee all sickness, and he will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt which thou knowest upon thee. Now, not as a bash on Egypt or what have you, but when you get into what that will be talking about, when they actually dug up the bodies of the ancient Egyptians, such as their queens and their kings, you begin to sit there and see that there was a lot of sicknesses among them, such as what they may consider early blindness, for instance, such as the fact of saying that they had a whole place of burial just for babies because they were sitting up there in that particular regard. This is why you find some of the pharaohs from the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom being so young in age because their older brothers was dying at a certain time. You understand? Like for instance, Pharaoh Abose or King Pharaoh, pardon me, Pharaoh Amos, as it's said by many. He only lived, not to be disrespectful, to 35. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of those kinds of people did not live a very, very long life. All right. So we just want that to be noted for a reason and purposes. All right. Oh, a lot of the sicknesses that the ancient Egyptians had was due to some of their, what we may say and understand as immoral practices. For instance, when you go in the book of Deuteronomy 29, it distinctly tells you in there that according to the abominations and the idols of the Egyptians, they used to have a custom in ancient Egypt that was based upon sexuality. We ain't gonna get too deep because we're gonna have children watching this. But basically, to speak a little bit candid as an adult, it was an all-male party where sexual acts happened. Enough said on that. All right. Then there was another deity that they used to worship where he was shown in his nakedness. You understand? And the men would sit there and imitate that kind of aspect that was shown upon the walls of Karnak in ancient Egypt. So we want that to be noted. There was an Egyptian custom in which the queens of Egypt will be shown running after another man's genitalia. You see that on the walls of Egypt. So those kind of things, such as adultery, which is against the laws of the Most High, lasciviousness, which is against the laws of the Most High, will sit there and bring those kind of ailments and diseases upon the people. So we want that to be noted for reason and purposes. All right. It says you don't deal with the other gods of those peoples because it will be a snare to you. Like the Baal Peor, for instance, when you go in the book of Numbers chapter 25. All right. The daughters of Moab didn't do everything and only ended where the daughters of Israel would have stopped sexually, if you want to put it in layman terms. It says, why yit azeb et bnei Israel libnot Moab. You understand what I'm saying? That he was joined, that the sons of Israel were joined onto the daughters of Moab. So now when you find a prince of Simeon walking among the people and he winds up getting, stabbed up, you understand, by the Levite Pinchas, the grandson of Aaron, we can understand why those kind of things will happen. You have to be bold to do certain kinds of things such as that. And certain types of women, like the Apocrypha speaks of, when you go in Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 and in chapter 23 of that, it speaks about the light woman. When I say light, like Light, not light meaning insight, but the kind of aspect of saying, well, it doesn't matter what we do or what we do. You know, like the song that they try to sit there and sing with Janet Jackson, anytime, any place, it doesn't matter who's singing. You understand? These are the kinds of things that it says it will be a snare. Oh, that's new to me. Let me see what that's about. Lo Yisrael. Certain things we just do not do. All right. So we want that to be noted. 17. We in Deuteronomy 7 chapter verse 17. If thou wilt say in thy heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them. Thou shalt remember what the Most High your King did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt, the great trials which thine eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders in the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm, whereby Yah thy God brought thee out. So shall Yah thy God do unto these peoples whom thou art afraid. Moreover, the Most High, your King, will send a hornet among them until they that are left, and they that hide themselves shall perish before you. So essentially, as it says, the Most High is the one that's actually doing the fighting. Now, these nations were the same ones that Abraham was told of the iniquity of the Amorites not yet filled. See, their kind of lasciviousness and wicked practices and halfway judgments and disrespect and sexual immorality and uncleanness and so forth and so on, the Most High had a certain limit where he just said, that's enough, that's that. Like in the scriptures, when you read and it says to the third and fourth generation of them that hate him, that doesn't mean if you do something that your great-great-great-grandchildren is going to suffer for it unless they practice in the same ways, because it tells you to the third and fourth generation of them, meaning the first generation hate, the second generation hate. He didn't take in his second and third generation, he didn't do what Ezekiel 18 says, where it says if a son sees his father's wickedness, he will not do like. You understand what I'm saying? So we just want that to be noted. Okay? So we're going to continue on in this particular aspect right here. All right? The Most High, your King, will cast out these. We are in 21, verse 21. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for the Most High thy King is in the midst of thee, a great God and awful. And Yah thy King will cast out these nations before thee by little and little, that thou mayest not consume them quickly, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But the Most High thy God will deliver them up before thee, and shall discomfort them with a great discomfiture until they are destroyed. So it was the Most High that actually did the fighting for Israel against the people of Canaan. All right, when you go into the book of Amos, it speaks about that particular thing, where you get into that particular aspect, and it says that he destroyed the Canaanites from the roots above him, though they was tall as the cedars. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, so we can gain an understanding. All right, sorry about the ringing that you heard that stated I'm not at home, but using somebody's space as they allow me to. All right, we're going to move on. All right, in this particular aspect right here. One of the things I want to point out. Oh, okay. It says, "Least the beasts of the field increase upon thee" in verse 21. There are people like when I was in college who would try to sit there and state that a racist group would sit there and teach that the beasts of the field in the Bible are black people. But we want to sit there, and if I could be a little sarcastic, if you will, if you want to state that to be the case, if you say Judah as the lion, Dan as the serpent, Dan as the serpent as stated, Gadites having faces like lions, or the deer of Naphtali, or the wolf of Benjamin, then you can sit there and want to be sarcastic in that way if you want, because the 12 tribes of Israel of color. So if you want to sit there and be disrespectful, sarcastic, or so forth and so on, it can go back and forth. But we're going to deal maturely, all right? So let's go on into verse 24. And he shall deliver their kings into thy hand, and thou shalt make their name perish from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand against thee until thou hast destroyed them. The graven images of their gods you shall burn with fire. Thou shalt not cover the silver or the gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee. Let's understand that. When they're dealing with these idolatrous things, you can't sit there and take the silver and the gold. Well, we're going to destroy that, but we're going to take that to it. No. It has already been dedicated to another God. So Israel, we're not going to go back home, no offense intended, with the average standard Bible that many of us have, because most of the Bibles that most of us have another God within it. See, when the Israelites were scattered out their land, if you want to say 722 BCE with Assyria, 586 with Babylon BCE, in the era of what happened with Greece in the year under the era of Ptolemy the first, and then again with the situation that happened with Titus the 70 AD. If you want to sit there and look at all of those particular things, there was no New Testament with the Israelites then. We want that to be noted for edification purposes. When what is referred to as the temple that was destroyed in 70 AD, the Israelites did not have a concept of what they called the New Testament. All right, so we want that to be noted for a reason and purposes. How do you have, brothers and sisters, a New Testament when the Old Testament, as we see right here, as it's called Old Testament, when the prophecies here have not yet been fulfilled fully? In 1993, 1992 era, they were saying that over 60% of the Old Testament prophecies already came to pass. So for one, why will the rest fail? And two, if it all is not completed, how do you have a New Testament when the Old Testament words are still coming into fruition? For instance, when you go into, let's go there if you will, all right, with the time allotted. Let's go to the book of Zephaniah, all right? We want to go to the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3. Let's start in Zephaniah 3, verse 8, all right? And it says the following. Therefore, wait ye for me, saith the Most High, until the day that I rise up to the prey. But my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation and all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. That was in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 8. That has not come to pass yet. So how do you have an entire New Testament when there's prophecies from the era of Josiah, king of Judah, in the Old Testament that have not even come to fruition yet? All right, so we just want to that to be noted for edification purposes. All right. The graven images, we are back in Deuteronomy 7:25. The graven images of their gods you shall burn with fire. Thou shalt not cover the silver or the gold that is on them. You shall not covet. And be like, I want it, I want it. The Most High speaking to your heart at this point. No, don't desire on the low, the God that, the gold that's off the God. We're going to sit there, smelt this down. We're going to keep, no. You understand? The silver or the gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination unto the Most High your King. The Most High is giving you in this day and time, or in the ancient day and time, a land that you can sit there, as you'll read, that you can dig brass out the wall. Brothers and sisters, the stuff that was put basically on the breastplate of Aaron, the ancient nations in modern times, they refer to that, what we're talking about, as lapis lazuli in many other regards. The Sinai Peninsula, where the children of Israel was walking through, had mountains, and we can go into those things and dig things out. You can go into the earth and dig out the diamonds and the minerals that's already within there. So we want that to be noticed. So in those times, they didn't have to go and look at a false god and then sit there and say, oh, we're going to sit there and take that to ourselves. No, you don't deal with them nor their gods. And there's a reason for that. Nor with this, when you have a people that induce you to idolatry, you don't marry into that, because they're going to do nothing but teach you about their gods, because they want to keep you away from your God. All right, so they know good and well why they call this. Oh, we gonna call it the Old Testament, and we'll give them a New Testament, and so forth and so on. They knew what they was doing by calling it old. Oh, we don't know nothing. Well, we want the new thing. You know, new things is better things. That kind of thing. That is a mental thing. You understand? So let's go on, and it says this in verse 26: And thou shalt not bring an abomination into thy house, and be accursed like unto it. Thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a devoted thing. Meaning that the thing like what Achan dealt with was supposed to do Israel. You understand? He was not supposed to sit there and deal with that type of thing. Leave that type of stuff alone. You know, you don't sit there and pick up, okay, well, there's nothing really wrong with that. The word Ankh in Egyptian means life, so I can take that. No. The cross, no. And any of these other kind of things and idols. Now, one of the things told out to the Most High, thank you to the Most High, that I'm 37 years old. And I remember growing up in the knowledge of Israel. I used to wear Nikes, Nike sneakers, Nike, so forth and so on. But we found out that Nike was a Greek goddess of victory. We got rid of it. So when you come to the understanding, and the Most High knows when you know something, you get rid of it. Just like it says in Leviticus, when you come to the knowledge of it, you are guilty therein. So to let the Most High know that you not coveting the gods of these things, you're not in your heart. Them Nikes look nice. No, Yisrael. We're not supposed to delve with that. Nike was the Greek goddess of victory, and the Greeks had her on the hands of Zeus. And Zeus was the Greek god that they put in the temple in 168 BCE that actually made the people want to sit there and rebel. All right, so we want that to be noted. Now, the temple that they put the thing that many people refer to as the abomination of desolations and so forth and so on, or the thing that causes appallment that the book of Daniel speaks of, was Zeus. All right, so it does cause an appallment. All right, and on Zeus was Nike. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. We don't sit there and delve in that. You know what I'm saying? We don't try to sit there and have a concept in Israel, all right, while we going over the aspect of why we are considered non-messianic, or some call us Old Testament based. We don't have a concept that says there's neither Jew nor Greek, there's neither male nor female, there's neither slave nor free. No, either you're free or you're a slave, either you're a male or you're a female, either you're of the house of Israel or you're not. So this is something we want to point out for reasonable purposes. Either you're wicked or you're not. But in this book here, you don't read nothing about messianic or non-messianic. Those are religious terms. So let's go on in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 1. All the commandment which I command you this day, you shall observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which the Lord swore unto your fathers. We're going to periodically see that thing that the Most High swore, that the Most High swore, that the Most High swore, because he's going to sit there and keep his word to the generation after generation. So when the Israelites didn't want to, in that first generation that came out of Egypt, go into the land, the Most High, did not break his oath, because the children of those who rejected it did go in. So the children of Israel did go in. It just wasn't that first generation. So as it's being stated, either the Most High will use you or have it done with or without you. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, let's go on. Verse 2, Deuteronomy 8, verse 2. And thou shalt remember all the way in which the Lord thy God hath led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might afflict thee to prove thee, to know what was in your heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right. We read right here that it says to know what's in your heart. The Hebrew word for heart is said as two words generally, leb and labab. All right, and both of it means of the mind. All right, to know where your mentality is at, how your mind flow. Whether or not you want to say, I'm gonna just do the right thing, I'm gonna just do the right thing, or you want to say, well, this is what it is, and so forth and so on. That's where it boils down to at in that particular regard. Let me ask a question to brothers and sisters out there who may feel that any camp teaching to keep the Shabbat day is off or incorrect. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel when you tell Israelites that because we're in captivity, we can't keep Shabbat? How do you feel about yourself in that particular regard is my question to you. You can't possibly be feeling okay about that. All right? Because to be quite candid and to be quite honest, concerning a matter and concerning a particular subject, the Shabbat is a day of rest. So when you're telling people don't do it, you're telling them to not rest, which means that you're no different than a person back in the 18 to 1700s that had our ancestors working on the Shabbat. You're no different than the man who tells the single mother, well, you come in on Saturday or you fired. You are a taskmaster of your mind, of the mind. You don't want people to be at rest. How do you feel if you tell somebody to not keep Shabbat because we're in captivity, when they could be studying the scriptures here, when they could be praying with their family and so forth and so on? How do you feel about that? You don't have any kind of restraint. You can't sit there and see that other God that you got in your head is a snare to you, that the sister looks so fine that you're going to violate the Shabbat and take her out and do whatever else, and so forth and so on. That you don't sit back and see that there's something wrong with what you're doing. That's a problem. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right? So we're going to continue on. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. Sorry. Deuteronomy 8, verse 3. Let's go on. And he afflicted thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, that thou mightst know, which thou knowest not. Sorry. Let's start over in verse 3. And he afflicted thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know what that man doth not live by bread only, but by everything that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High doth man live. So we live by the word of the Most High. Let's understand something in Old Testament understanding of what is the word of God. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 40, verse 7, if we will. We're going to go to the prophet Isaiah chapter 40, verse 7, so we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. All right? And it reads as follows. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the breath of the Most High bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. So we want that to be noted. It distinctly says, but the word of our God shall stand forever. So now let's go in. That's Isaiah chapter 40, verse 7 and 8. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3. And he afflicted thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by everything that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High doth man live. What is life according to the Old Testament way? Let's go and jump, if you will, to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. All right, so we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. And it says this: See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil, and that I command thee this day to love the Most High your King. Now let's go to verse 19 of Deuteronomy 30. And it says this: I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that I have set before thee life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore choose life, that thou mayest live, thou and thy seed. Just as it speaks of your fathers, it speaks about your seed, or your descendants, all right? To love the Most High your God, to hearken to his voice, and to cleave unto him. So we don't call ourselves after any Messiah, you understand? Or anyone taken as such. It says what? That to love the Most High your God, to walk, to hearken to his voice, and to cleave unto him, for that is thy life and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land. To cleave unto the Most High is life. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19 and 20. So we want that to be noted for reference purposes. Let's go. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 4. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. And thou shalt consider in thy heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so the Most High thy God chasteneth thee. And thou shalt keep the commandments of the Most High your King, to walk in his ways, and to fear him. For Yah thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths, bringing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey. Now we do know that olives come either green or black in color. I want to point that out for reason and purposes. All right. Because when you read in the scriptures and it says about the olive and the fine, pardon me if I'm misquoting it, but it speaks about the olive being small, and it speaks about other things in Exodus about certain things. It's the same procedure and the same kind of things that they tell people who happen to have AIDS to sit there and deal with. Because what it does, what olives do is it helps your liver, and AIDS attacks your liver. So there is a thing that the Most High has already put within the earth. So we want that to be noted for reference purposes. All right, let's go on. And it says the following: And thou shalt keep the commandments of the Most High your King, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For the Most High thy King bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths, bringing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig grass. And thou shalt eat and be satisfied, and bless the Most High thy King for the good land which he hath given thee. Beware, lest thou forget the Most High thy God, and not keeping his commandments and his ordinances and his statutes, which I command thee this day. The way to remember the Most High is to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Least when thou hast eaten and art satisfied, and has been good, that has built goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget Yah your power. In other words, when you start blowing up, becoming that man or becoming that woman, it says, least you forget the Most High. Your heart be lifted up. Like, I'm good. Thank you, God. Take care. You know, that kind of mentality. Who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, who led thee through the great and dreadful wilderness, wherein was serpents, fiery serpents, and scorpions, and thirsty ground where was no water. Who brought forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might afflict thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good in thy latter end. So we have to understand that to prove means to actually to test, to see, Like it says, acceptable men are tested in the furnace of adversity. So where you see where your mind is at. You understand where they sit there and test gold in a furnace and so forth and so on to test this quality. So we want to sit there and speak about that particular thing, the kind of quality that we're speaking of, not how much, not to be disrespectful, not about how many scriptures you can run off, but more so about how much scriptures you are actually applying. And we are all a work in progress. All right? Nobody came and died for our sins. We have to sit there and atone for our sins. It's about, to a great extent, responsibility. All right? So let's go on. And it says this. Verse 13. And when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, meaning your children, your animals, which was livestock, which was an economic-based system in ancient days. All right? And when your silver and gold is multiplied, then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Most High your King, who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt. I wanted to read that part right there because we have to know and understand that's the Most High that gives these things. So when you're in a good state, economically, socially, family-wise, and so forth and so on, that's from the Heavenly Father. All right. So when those things begin to happen, don't sit there and forget the one who, to put it in layman terms, put you on. All right. Don't forget Yah your King. That's what we're talking about. All right, so let's go on in this particular part. All right, verse 17. And thou say in thy heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember the Most High thy God. For it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore unto thy fathers, as it is this day. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 11, if we will. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 1 for a reason. All right, so we can gain understanding. All right, Ezekiel chapter 11 and verse 1. Then the Spirit lifted me up and brought me into the east gate of the Most High's house, which looketh eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate were 25 men. And I saw in the midst of them Yaazniah, the son of Azur, and Pelatiah, the son of Benaiah, princes of the people. And he said unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise iniquity, and that have given wicked counsel in the city. So I wanted that to have been read because it said there were princes among the people. So obviously they had riches, they had livestock, they sat there in layman terms, blew up and was doing their thing, as the saying goes. And it said that these people there forgot who the Most High was. So we want that to be noted for reference purposes. We are not to be like it says there, Yaazniah and Pelatiah. We can't be like those guys. Can't be like Datan and Abiram. You understand? Neither. So we want that to be noted for reference purposes. All right. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 8, and we're going to go in 19th verse. And it shall be that and it shall be, if thou shalt forget the Most High thy King, and walk after other gods and serve them, and worship them, I forewarn you this day that thou shalt utterly perish. As the nations that the Most High maketh to perish before you, so you shall perish, because you will not hearken unto the voice of the Most High your God. So we basically are the descendants of those who perished in the eyes of the Most High. All right. So when it says perish, you was cut off from the land of the living. We're not in our homeland. Ezekiel chapter 37 describes the land of our captivity as graves, quibrot in the Hebrew. All right. The Most High describes us in the land of our captivity as harugim, which means slain ones. All right. We're slain ones. We're dead in this particular aspect in the position that we are now. Dead to the knowledge of our God, dead to the knowledge of our language, dead to the knowledge of our history, dead to the knowledge of what is right. There are Israelites who are wondering what a wedding and marriage is about. That shows you how far we have gone from our true culture and our true ways. Nothing wrong with asking for counsel. Nothing wrong with seeking counsel. That's intelligence. But the fact that certain things that we have to seek for counsel, I'm guilty of such having to do so, that's a problem. I should not have to be over, you understand, 35 years old. And I'm asking my elders Prince Cohen, what do you do in a marriage? I mean, what do you do in a marriage? Because you didn't see perhaps a marriage growing up in most of our homes. We got to sit back and, is that the way to do it? Do we do it like that? This was what happens when it says you will perish like the nations that perished. So we want that to be noted. We are gone far from our place. You understand? As it says in Ezekiel 37, we're clean cut off. Clean cut off from your roots, clean cut off from your culture, clean cut off from your way of life. All right? I kept one day, a high holy day. It probably was, I remember it was the Feast of Booths in 1995. And I was in a particular congregation at that time called Benny Adot, based in Brooklyn, in New York. And I remember going to school the next day. I was in the 10th grade. And I remember looking at my friend, no disrespect intended to the brother, very cool person. I took, the brother as a friend. And I looked at my friend like, Larry doesn't know this way of life. That's my friend from when I was in high school. Larry doesn't know Hebrew's his language. Larry doesn't know his culture. Larry doesn't understand that he comes from the ancient tribes of Israel. Larry just think, like many of us think, we're black. You see, my head is black. My skin tone is brown. If you paint what is considered to be a black man with this kind of color, it's deemed to be insulting. You understand? So we just want that to be noted for reference and edification purposes. All right, let's move on. We're going to go into Deuteronomy chapter 9, all right, in verse 1. All right, we're going to continue on with this particular portion right here, all right? Let's go. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 1. Hear, O Israel, thou art to pass over the Jordan this day to go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourself, cities and fortified. Let's start over. Deuteronomy 9, verse 1. Hear, O Israel, thou art to pass over the Jordan this day to go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fortified up to heaven, a people great and tall, the sons of the Anakim, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard say, who shall stand before the sons of Anak? Anak is part of the giants. I want to explain something. Nephilim in Hebrew doesn't mean giants. Nephilim in Hebrew means those who have fallen, not fall. All right, the Nephilim are the fallen ones. All right, we're not talking about angels out of heaven that fell. No, that's not the concept. We're not teaching that. What I'm saying is the word correctly for giant is Anak. All right, so let's go on. Know therefore this day that the Most High your God is he that goeth before thee as a devouring fire. He will destroy them, and he will bring them down before thee. So shalt thou drive them out and make them to perish quickly, as the Most High has spoken unto thee. Speak not thou in thy heart, after the Most High thy God has thrust them out from before thee, saying, for my righteousness the Most High hath brought me in to possess this land, whereas for the wickedness of these nations the Most High doth drive them out before thee. Not for thy righteousness, nor for thy uprightness, for thy heart. Thou dost thou go in to possess their land. But for the wickedness of these nations, the Most High thy King doth drive them out from before thee, and that he may establish the word which Yah swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Now, let's understand something. When you're dealing with this particular thing right here, most of their wickedness of the Canaanites involved homosexuality. Where there's men sleeping with men, you're going to have women sleeping with women. Where you're going to have men sleeping with men and women sleeping with women, you're going to have people sleeping with children. Because pedophilia and homosexuality and lesbianism and adultery All of them are cousins and buddies and friends. All of them are cousins 2 times removed. You may want to put it in terms like that. One coincides with the other. Homosexuality coincides with lesbianism. Both of them together coincides with dealing with children and pedophilia. And then all of them coincide with dealing with adultery. Because you have people that will sit there and deal with those that are dealing in those kind of wicked acts. And those kind of things are not to be done before the Most High. You understand? In America, when the homosexuals got their rights, the pedophiles was right there asking for theirs because they're all in cahoots with each other. All right? But Israel is not supposed to delve in such acts and such things. In ancient days, the average person, they already have what they call arranged marriages. So I would have, let's say, my 13-year-old daughter or 14-year-old daughter to be put to promise without any sexual contact to, let's say, a boy that's 17, 18. And when they get of age, okay, then therefore they will sit there and be married. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. That's how many things were started back then. When you took out the social structure of the family, you have the 1990 family in the Black community. So we just want that to be noted. All right, so let's go on. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 9, all right, verse 6. Know therefore that it is not for thy righteousness that the Most High thy King giveth thee this good land to possess it, but thou art a stiff-necked people, koshe oref. In other words, a stiff-necked, like, I'm going to be set in my ways no matter what. That's not a good way to be. You understand? Stiff-necked and stubborn and rebellious goes hand in hand with backsliding. Because instead of moving forward, instead of being a futuristic people like Yisrael, as we went over before, the Yod represents the future tense. It's a futuristic people. But when you stiff-necked, you got that tunnel vision. I only see my way. I can't see no other kind of way. My way is right. I'm going to do what's right in my own eyes. And so these are the kinds of things that it talks of in that particular aspect. All right. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. Okay. We're going to continue on in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 9, verse 7. Remember, forget thou not how thou didst make the Most High thy king wroth in the wilderness, from the day that thou didst go forth out of the land of Egypt, till you came into this place. You have been rebellious against Yah. Also in Horeb ye made the Most High wroth, and the Most High was angry with you to have destroyed you. When I was going up into the mount to receive the tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant which the Most High made with you. Then I abode in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. I did neither eat bread nor drink water. And the Most High delivered me the 2 tables of stone were written with the finger of Elohim. On them were they written according to all the words which Yah spoke unto you in the mount, out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that the Most High gave me the 2 tables of stone, even the tables of the covenant. And the Most High said unto me, Arise, get thee down quickly from thence, for thy people that thou broughtest forth out of Egypt have dealt corruptly. They have quickly turned aside out of the way which I commanded them, and they have made them a molten image. So when we read that the Most High is telling Prophet Moshe, all right, get you down, for your people corrupted themselves. Because the Most High wasn't at that particular time claiming Israel as his own son, claiming Israel as his own people. Like it says in the book of Hosea, when you delve righteously, then you will be called the people of the living God. So it goes by deeds, not by belief. A lot of people believe if you accept who they would call Jesus Christ, then you'll be saved. No, it says those who have clean hands and a pure heart, who have not lifted up his eyes to vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. See, the belief in Jesus Christ doesn't afford you to have to not look upon the high tops of the mountains of Israel. You don't have to sit there and keep a particular diet. You don't have to sit there and keep a particular days and so forth and so on. There's a lot of things that you do have to sit there and deal with when it comes down to that particular belief, because all you have to have is that belief. You understand? It's giving you a salvation that you don't have to work for. So a lot of times when you're trying to sit there and bring the knowledge of what is truly our place, truly our culture, truly our laws, some want to sit there and rebel against that. So they put a mental block in their head and call others, oh, you're non-Messianic. That is like a code one to another. Don't believe nothing this guy says. Don't believe nothing that sister says. They're a non-Messianic. So I've been asking for a while, right? Check this here. I've been asking where in this book, this is the Stone Edition tonight, all right? Or where in this book, which is both Old and New Testament there, or I'll go so far as this, which they call the Hebrew New Testament. Where is the term Messianic and non-Messianic? It's not even in there. And I don't subscribe to the New Testament, but you don't find that in there. They making Israel sound religious and not according to the ways of your fathers. We are named after the name that the Most High gave. We can't rename ourselves as a nation. You understand? So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right? We are now in Deuteronomy chapter 9. Verse 13. Furthermore, the Most High said unto me, Furthermore, the Most High spoke unto me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone, that I may destroy them and blot up their name from under heaven. And I will make of thee a nation greater and mightier than they. So I turned and came down from the mount, and the mount burned with fire, and the two tables of the covenant were in my two hands. And I looked, and behold, you have sinned against the Most High your God. You have made you a molten calf. You have turned aside quickly out of the way, which the Most High had commanded you. And and I took hold of the two tables, and cast them out of my two hands, and broke them before your eyes. And I fell down before Yah, as at the first time 40 days and 40 nights. I did neither eat bread nor drink water because of all your sin which you have sinned, and doing that which is evil in the sight of the Most High to provoke him. Let's go on. And I was in dread of the anger and hot displeasure, wherewith the Most High was wroth against you to destroy you. But Yah hearkened unto me that time also. So what are we reading right here? All right. It says that when Yisrael was dealing with that golden calf, all right, and they said, these be thy gods, O Yisrael, that brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt. Says the Most High did not like that. That is not something that should have not been done. The golden calf was said by many as Apis, the bull of ancient Egypt. Some people say it was Hathor, the sex goddess and the mother of healing inside of Egyptian culture. All right. To the people who want to say, well, the Torah came out of Egypt, and Moses was a priest of the Egyptians, and so forth and so on. Moses was noted for taking that idol that ancient Israel had, made the golden calf, and melting it, and then making the people drink it. So that shows you what Moses, who some say was a priest in Egypt, thought about the Egyptian gods. And if what they're saying is true, did any of the Egyptian gods rebuke Moses for such? So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. Pardon me. We're going to go back, all right? Deuteronomy chapter 9, all right? So we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 20. Moreover, the Most High was very angry with Aaron to have destroyed him. And I prayed for Aharon also that same time. And I took your sin, the calf which he had made, and burnt it with fire, and beat it in pieces, grinding it small until it was as fine as dust. And I cast the dust thereof in the brook that cast it into the brook that descend out of the mount. And at Tabera, and at Massa, and at Kibrota Ta'awa, you made the Most High wrath. And when Yah sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, go up and possess the land which I have given you, then you rebelled against the commandment of the Most High your God, and you believed him not, nor hearkened to his voice. You have been rebellious against the Most High from the day that I knew you, So I fell down before the Most High the 40 days and 40 nights that I fell down, because the Most High had said he would destroy you. And I prayed unto Yah and said, O Yah Elohim, destroy not thy people and thine inheritance, that thou hast redeemed through thy greatness, and thou hast brought forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember thy servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look not upon the stubbornness of this people, nor to their wickedness, nor to their sin. Lest the land which thou bringest us out say, because the Most High was not able to bring them into the land which he promised unto them, and because he hated them, and it says he had brought them out to slay them in the wilderness. Yet they are thy people and thine inheritance, that thou bringest forth out by thy great arm and by thy great power and by thy outstretched arm. Let's remember that as we go along, all right? We are now, okay, in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 1. So we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. At that time, the Most High said unto me, hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and come up unto the mount, and come up unto me into the mount, and make thee an ark of wood. And I will write on the tables the words which were on the first tables which thou didst break, and thou shalt put them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood, and hewed 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and went up into the mount, having the 2 tables in my hand. And he wrote on the tables according to the first writing, the 10 words, meaning the 10 things, if you will. All right? Which the Most High spoke unto you in the mount out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And the Most High gave them unto me. And I turned and came down from the mount and put the tables in the mount. Pardon me. And put the tables in the ark which I had made. And there they are as the Most High commanded me. And the children of Israel journeyed from Berot Bene Yaakwan to Moserah. There Aaron died, and there he was buried. And Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his stead. Now, I want to point something out, that the children of Israel in the scriptures named these lands according to the names that they chose to name them. So there are people out there saying that, well, it says that Aaron died in Mount Hor, and over here it says that he died in Moserah. But if you don't understand the definition of the word Moserah, then perhaps you probably wouldn't understand what's going on. The word Moserah in Hebrew means discipline or chastisement. So if that's where Aaron died, you can see why they named it that. All right. So let's go on. It says, and Eleazar, his son, ministered in the priest's office in his stead. Now in Israel, you may want to say that you have what is referred to as a three-way Messiah system or Mashiach aspect. Let me explain what I mean by that. The priests are anointed, so they will be deemed messiahs. The kings, in many cases, were anointed, so they would be deemed messiahs. And there were prophets that was anointed. Elisha was an anointed prophet. Isaiah was an anointed prophet. All right. You had the king Yehu, he was an anointed king. You had here stated about the prophet Isaiah. You had the king Saul who was anointed. You had the king David who was anointed, and then you had King Solomon who was anointed. All right, so we want that to be noted for reference purposes and for edification reasoning. All right, verse 7. From thence they journeyed unto Gud, and from Gud to Yotba, in the land of brooks of water. At that time, the Most High separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of Yah, to stand before Yah, to minister unto him, and to bless in his name unto this day. Wherefore Levi hath no portion nor inheritance with his brother. The Most High is his inheritance, according as Yah thy God spoken unto him. Now I stayed in the mount as at the first time, 40 days and 40 nights. And the Most High hearkened unto me that time also, that Yah would not destroy thee. I want to show something, please. If you go We just read Deuteronomy 10, verse 10, right? If you go, brothers and sisters, we're going to take this part of me into the Hebrew. Deuteronomy chapter, we are in this right here, in the Hebrew, all right? Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10, and it says the following. Wa Anoki, and I, Amati, I stood, Bahar, in the mount, Kayamim Harishoni, as at the first time, Arba'im Yom wa Arba'im Laila, 40 days and 40 nights. Why Yishma Yore Wahe Eli, the Most High hearken unto me. Gam Pa'am Hahu, in that time also, Lo Abba Yore Wahe, Hashakitaka, the Most High will not suffer thee to have been destroyed, or to bring destruction upon thee. But here's the point that I want to show, all right? And I'm going to highlight it so we can go for edification. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10, all right? And it says this. All right, let's look at this right here in the Hebrew, all right? Okay. I got to be able to see it on my side too. All right, let's go in. Wa Anoki Amati Bahar Payamim Harishoni. I'm going to circle the particular thing I would like to highlight, please, so you can see it for yourself. You see that part there that's highlighted? All right. Kayamim Harishoni, the first days or the first time. So he stood on the mount as at the first time. The word Yamim also means days. The word Yamim also means time. Yom means day or time. So if you're saying that Yom is only the daylight, like bright, like daylight, like that, how did Moses stay 40 days and 40 nights the first days? Can't. Therefore, Yom means more than just the word day. It means time. All right, so let's understand that for a reason and purpose. Just like somebody say, in these days, I'm doing this, that, and the third. It's just where you're getting good understanding. All right, we are in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10. We're going to start in verse 11. The Most High said unto me, arise, go before the people, causing them to set forward, that they may go in and possess the land which I swore unto their fathers to give unto them. It's a good thing when you make a promise and then you having it come through to fruition. If we're made in the image of the Most High, the things that we promise, we should be able to say, let's do this even as I promised you. You understand the point that I'm trying to bring out? When you promise something, come through with it. Yeah, we all human, but don't live your life as a lie. All right, let's go on. It says this. And now, Yisrael, what doth the Most High thy King require of thee, but to fear the Most High thy King, and to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Most High your King with all your heart and with all your soul, to keep for thy good the commandments of the Most High, and the statutes which I command thee this day. Behold, unto the Most High thy King belongeth the heaven, and the heaven of heavens, the earth, and all that therein is. Only Yah had a delight in thy fathers, to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you, above all peoples, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be ye not stiff-necked, for the Most High your King, he is God of gods and Lord of lords, a great God, and mighty and awful, and regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward. You can't buy the Most High off. All right? So we want that to be noted. You can't offer a New Testament and say, well, the people failed in the old, so here's the new. No, it says emphatically, only the Most High had a delight in thy fathers to love them. Your fathers were part of Abraham, part of them is Isaac, part of them is Jacob. It says, look into the rock from which you was hewn. to the hole of the pit from which you were dug. Look unto Abraham your father. This is in Isaiah. But the new book will tell you, think not to say we have Abraham as our father. But we are right here reading about the promises that was made to our forefathers. Let's go on, brothers and sisters, and it says the following. All right? Verse 16, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart. When you come to appear before the Most High in your life, in your spirit, and so forth, you can't remain as you first was. Even if you were circumcised, it can do nothing but increase. It can't do nothing but get better. All right, so we want to point that out for reason and purposes. So when people try to say in the New Testament circumcision means nothing, or let the uncircumcised remain uncircumcised. That's in Corinthians. It says, let the uncircumcised remain uncircumcised. So even if you're talking about spiritual or of the mind or physical circumcision, still not supposed to remain as such. This right here distinctly says, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart. So you can't just, as it says, well, when you come in, you got to remain as you were. Let every man come in as he's called. No, there were Israelite brothers who in their teenage years wound up getting circumcised because they wound up coming into this and they may have not been circumcised. There are Israelites, yes, that are now in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that were circumcised when they came into this way of life, let's say as a teenager. You understand what I'm saying? So it can be done. All right? So let's go on, brothers and sisters. For the Lord, your God, he is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, a great God, the mighty and the awful, which regardeth not persons nor taketh reward. He doth execute justice for the fatherless and widow, and loveth the stranger, and giving him food and raiment. Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt fear the Most High thy King, him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave, and by his name thou shalt swear. He is thy glory, and he is thy Elohim. He is your God, that thou, thou hast done. Let's go to verse 21 again. He is your glory, and he is thy God, that thou hast done for these great and tremendous things which thine eyes have seen, that have done these great and tremendous things that your eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons, and now the Most High thy King hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. All right, so the children of Israel were certainly into multiplying. So we want that to be noted. Let us continue on. All right. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 1. Oh, I want to point out that it says, love ye therefore the stranger, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. You don't treat people bad just because they're not of your own people. No, that's not the way it goes. All right, so we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, thou shalt fear the Most High thy King. Him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave, and by his name thou shalt swear. So we don't do what the New Testament book would say, where it says swear not at all, because Deuteronomy right here, all right, is telling us that we're supposed to swear, but we swear in the name of the Most High. And of course, we don't sit there and swear to a lie. So the argument that's generally given is, well, the people were swearing, but they were swearing falsely. So it's better off to say, well, don't swear at all. That's according to some people's logic. Let's go into the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 15. All right, so we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. Yeshayahu, the prophet Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 15. And it says the following. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek justice, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, and plead for the widow. You want that to be read. It says, wash you, rakatzu, make you clean. Hizaku, from the Hebrew word zak or zakah. Hizaku, make you clean. Wash you, make you clean. Rakazu means wash you. Hizaku means make you clean, meaning make you pure. You got that power in your own hands. Nobody's blood is going to do it for you. It says, whilst you make you clean, put away the evil of your doings. That's what it's talking about, Israel. You understand? Myself included. Put away the evil of your doing. So whatever you're doing that's incorrect, stop doing that. Learn to do well, cease from doing evil. The Most High told Cain, says, sin crouches at the door, and to you is his desire, but you can't rule over it. So the Most High is telling you, I know what it is. Not speaking as a father, putting words in his mouth. But basically, the Most High knows whatever it is that you're dealing with. Yo, this is a difficult thing. The Most High is telling you, you can sit there and deal with it. I know of a beautiful woman. May she rest in peace. And it's not saying that if you are necessarily a person that's worthy of death for this, but smoking cigarettes does shorten your lifespan. I knew a beautiful woman who came into this way of life in her 30s. You understand? And this particular woman used to smoke a pack or better a day of cigarettes, the Newports back in the day. Smoke, chain smoking, if you will. Smoke, smoke, smoke. But when she came into this understanding, she didn't smoke on a Shabbat from Friday evening, Saturday evening. She didn't smoke on the holy days on Pesach or the seventh day or the feast of unleavened bread. She didn't smoke on Yom Kippur, which is the 10th day of the seventh month. I'm talking about my mother. May she rest in peace now. You understand? So the point I'm mentioning that is this. Whatever habit that you got, you are able to sit there and stop that if you want it to be stopped. It says, whilst you make you clean. So whatever it is, you have the ability to sit there and say, I don't want to do that no more. You understand? The Most High told Cain, you can't rule over it, but you got to want to do that. See, what Christianity offers in that NT is basically saying that his blood, in Colossians saying that his blood already made the atonement for us. So a lot of times when you talk about this kind of thing and saying we got the power in our hands to cease from doing what is wrong, it's like, huh? Really? No man is justified by the word of the law. Yeah, that's the weak person. Because you got to remember, in the New Testament, Paul said he became weak to the weak. Deuteronomy tells us to be strong and of good courage. Sometimes it takes strength to not like that cigarette. Sometimes it takes strength to not want to eat that shrimp. Sometimes it takes strength to sit there and say, well, I'm single. Well, she and her husband ain't getting along. Well, let me just say, no, Israel. That's what you're not supposed to sit there and do. You understand? So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. I've spoken, and I'm not going to mention no names or location, but this was years ago, like before the internet really was on and popping like that, as the saying goes. I spoke with drug dealers in the day, back in the day, and I remember I was on my way to a camp on a Shabbat, and I was in my rap and everything, and these guys who were drug dealers, they shouted out at me, "Hey!" So I'm sitting up there looking, and I'm saying that I know these guys, I know what these guys are into, and so forth and so on. So I responded back, "Hey, it was good. I'm my brother. You take care. You have a good day." And their response to me essentially was like, "Hey, yo, come here." So I'm thinking to myself now, no, I knowing these guys are drug dealers. Do I sit there and do what? See the evil and depart from it? They're not selling drugs at that particular moment, but I know what these guys are into. Or do I go and say, as it says, be like a watchman at the door? So I approached them. You understand? And I spoke with the guys, and they said, "So what you into?" You understand? I told those brothers that I'm an Israelite. You know, I'm on my way over to where I worship at, so forth and so on. You know, and they was like, "Yo, I be seeing you around talking to me." These are drug dealers I'm talking about. Back in the day, like I said, I'm not going to mention the location, but they called. It was on the Shabbat on my way to a camp. That's all I'm mentioning about that particular part. And those drug dealers who were there told me, keeping it 100. You know, they were like, yo, you keep doing that Israelite thing, because that's going to save you. I would never forget the dudes who sell cocaine and crack was saying to me on Saturday, on Shabbat, like, you keep doing that Israelite thing because that's going to save you. You understand? That person and people decided to keep on doing what they wanted to do. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, we're going to go on into this particular subject right here that we're talking about. And we are in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 1. All right, and it says this: Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God to keep his charge and his statutes and his ordinances and his commandments always. And know ye this day, for I speak not with your children that have not known, and that have not seen the chastisement of the Most High your God, his greatness and his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm, and his signs and his works, which he did in the midst of Egypt unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and unto all his land, and what he did unto the army of Egypt, unto their horses, unto their chariots, how he made the water of the sea of reeds, not Red Sea, but the sea of reeds, okay, to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how the Most High have destroyed them unto this day, and what he did unto you in the wilderness until you came to this place, and what he did to Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, in their households, in their tents, and every living substance that followed them in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen the great work which Yah, the great work of Yah which he did. Great doesn't always mean good. Not trying to be funny or anything like that. Great is like Gadol. The word for good is told. So when it says great work, it doesn't always mean good. All right. So we want that to be noted for reason and purposes. All right. Therefore shall you keep all the commandment which I command thee this day, that thou may be strong and go in and possess the land, whether you go over to possess it, and that ye may prolong your days upon the land which Yah swore unto your fathers to give unto them into their seed, the land flowing with milk and honey. Do you know that when you're teaching in doctrine, that you're teaching in doctrine, that you're not supposed to swear to the Most High, that you are actually trying to eliminate the position that the Most High has with someone? We have a God that whose name we can swear in. We can sit there and say we swear in the name of the Most High God. But they're going to tell you, oh, don't swear at all, because they know that they're not trying to swear in truth. So they want to maintain the lie. So they say, let's just get rid of swearing altogether. See, it's slick. They're not going to say work on your lying. They're not going to say work on your deceit. They're not going to sit there and say for you to have the strength to say before the Most High, I have this particular problem. Yah help me. Yah deliver me out of all my troubles. Doesn't always mean the outside troubles. It means sometimes the internal mental troubles, the spiritual troubles, all the other kind of things. So when it says the Most High delivereth thee out of all thy troubles, certain things might just be personal between you and the Most High. That's nobody else's business. You understand? But Yah knows. You understand? So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, let's go on. Deuteronomy 11, verse 10. For the land whither thou goest in to possess it is not as the land of Egypt, from which ye came out, wherein thou didst sow thy seed, and didst water it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs. But the land whither thou goest to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinketh the water as the rain of heaven cometh down. A land that the Most High thy God careth for. The eyes of the Most High thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year. It shall come to pass, if you have hearkened diligently unto my commandments, which I command thee this day, to love Yah Eloheka, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give rain in your land in its season, the former rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn and thy wine and thy oil. All right, now, the former rain on today's calendar generally is in the month of March, April, that era. The latter rain is generally in today's calendar, which you call September, October. So we want that to be noted. The holy days outside of Shabbat and New Moon fall in what you call from the month of March, and sometimes Passover comes in March, all the way to October. So we want that to be noted. All of the holy days that you see in Leviticus 23rd chapter, besides the Shabbat, and in Numbers 10, when you read about New Moon, every other holy day falls in between that time. Within the first month, the third month, because it says about bringing in the harvest and so forth and so on. When you put the sickle to the standing corn, when you go into the book of Deuteronomy. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. So once you start dealing with that particular thing, once you start dealing in that particular aspect, you begin to see about the purpose of the former rain and the latter rain. All right. It shows you the climate in ancient Israel. So that means that this culture could not have come out of Egypt because they don't deal with the rain, former and latter from the sky. They deal with the aspect of the overflow of the Nile. So we're going to continue on in this particular regard. All right. A land which the Most High thy God careth for. The eyes of the Most High thy God are always upon it from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year. Deuteronomy 11, verse 13. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Most High your God, and to serve him with all your heart, and with all your soul, that I will give your rain in the land in the season, the former rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn, thy wine, and thy oil. Okay, I have read that. So when the Most High is saying he gives you the rain to gather things in, see, he does one step, you do your part. When he opened up the sea of reeds, I'm gonna just stand here. No, it's time for you to go across. You understand what I'm saying? Let's go into Joshua chapter 18, if we will. All right, so we can gain an understanding of what we're talking about. Joshua chapter 18, verse 1. All right, and it says the following. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled themselves together at Shiloh and set up the tent of meetings there. And the land was subdued before them. And there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes that have not yet received their inheritance. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, Joshua chapter 18, verse 3. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, How long will ye slack to go in to possess the land which the Most High the God of your fathers has given you? So when the Most High is giving you something, it tells you in there basically how long you're going to be slack to take the responsibility that the Most High is giving you. Well, I'm gonna drag my feet, or we're gonna do what many people do, the makar. I like to call that the shir hamakar, the tomorrow song. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Proverb says, boast not for tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring. So if you already know that the Most High is moving you in something, don't sit there and be like, tomorrow, tomorrow, do it. It says what? About the slothful man. It says his want shall come upon him as an armed man. So a little sleep, a little sleep, a little slumber, so shall thy poverty come upon thee as an armed man. That's in the book of Proverbs. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. Slackness brings forth poverty, and the scriptures is teaching that. Yisrael is told to work 6 days, and we are not by culture a lazy people, to the point where if you were to not work on the, or if you were to work on the Shabbat, pardon me, that's capital punishment. Yisrael, to show you that the culture of the Torah does not promote laziness, is to the point where if you do work on a particular day on the Shabbat, Motu Yumat shall surely be put to death. If you have capital punishment for working on a particular day, it shows you that your culture is not about laziness, because that time is only for that one day that it speaks about that, and the capital punishment aspect out the week besides other holy days like Yom Kippur and so forth. So we just want that to be noted for reason and purposes. We're going to go Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 15, and we're going to close out soon enough, all right? It says this, and I will give grass in thy fields for thy cattle, and thou shalt eat and be satisfied. Take heed to yourselves, lest your heart be deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And the anger of Yah be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, so that there shall be no rain, and the ground shall not yield her fruit, and you perish quickly from off the good land, whether the Most High thy King giveth you. In the book of Amos, it says the Most High has given thee cleanness of teeth, to where 2 or 3 cities became one. So they had to try to sit there, and because they didn't have righteousness, you wind up losing your space. You wind up losing your own thing. All right. So 2 and 3 cities became one because of the lack of food. That's what that's talking about. You read about being besieged under the era of first the Arameans, then, well, first Moab and Philistia, but you also read about the Arameans. You read later on about the Assyrians. You read about the Babylonians. You read about the Medes and the Persians. You read about the Greeks. You read about the Romans. All those different nations also spoke about the Israelites in their own records. Did you know that there is a record by the Babylonians speaking about King Jehoiachin of Judah? They refer to it as Yahokinu of Yehudu. All right. So I just want that to be noted for edification purposes. Let's go on, if you will. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 11, and we're going to start here again in verse 17. And the anger of Yah be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, so that there be no rain, and the ground shall not yield her fruit. Her fruit. Earth, ground in Israelite culture is noted as feminine. And you perish quickly from off the good land which the Most High is giving thee. Therefore you shall lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and you shall bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And you shall teach them diligently your children, talking of them when you sit in your house, 1, when thou walkest by the way, 2, when thou liest down, 3, and when thou risest up. So when you're walking, when you're laying down, when you're rising up, and when you're going by the way, and when you're sitting. So when you're sitting, laying, rising up, and walking. Sitting, laying down, rising up, walking. It says you're supposed to be talking to your children about the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the Most High God. You're supposed to teach your children this. Give you an example raw from what I'm talking about. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 19. All right, Leviticus chapter 19, and we're going to start in verse 29. And here's what it says. Leviticus or Wayikra 19, verse 29. And here's what we read. Profane not thy daughter to make her a harlot, lest the land fall into harlotry and the land become full of lewdness. The word lewdness in Hebrew there is the word zima. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, and that basically means lewdness, lasciviousness. Profane not thy daughter to cause her to be a harlot, says Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29. Right here in Deuteronomy 11:19, you shall teach them your children, talking of them, when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up. So we don't do Judaism. Judaism teaches you not to teach your daughter the Torah. Yet we are told that we're supposed to teach our children. So we want that to be noted. How you going to teach, don't teach your children, or namely to say your daughters the laws of the Most High. How is she supposed to be that Proverbs 31 woman that it talks about? How is she supposed to know about the tokens of virginity? How is she supposed to know that she's supposed to not leave her, that she's not supposed to leave her father's house having already been sleeping with him, and so forth and so on? That means you got to teach her the laws of Yah. The Talmud and what they call Mishnah Sota 3:4 says, don't teach your daughter the Torah, and he who teaches his daughter the Torah is a bad person. That is in Talmud. We don't do that in the house of Israel. We teach our sons and daughters. For instance, as stated, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29, when it says, profane not thy daughter, artikalel ebikala hasnota, to cause her to be a harlot. You do that by one way or the other. Either you pimping her out, or you just not there as a father, and she has to sit there and see, hey, if a guy, speaking as a female, if a guy loves me, then he'll be intimate with such. And so they get sexuality and love confused, because love in Hebrew is ahab. It's not sex. As stated again, the Hebrew word ahab is love. It's 2 words that's used in Hebraic understanding for sexuality. Shakab, to lie carnally, and the Hebrew word agab. All right, so we want that to be noted for reference purposes. When you look inside the modern Hebrew dictionaries, and they'll tell you the word for sex is meen, M-E-E-N, or mem, yod, nun, so feet. That is talking about in that particular aspect of gender, like male or female. So if you look up sex and you see mean or meanie, it's talking about gender. But Hebraic understanding for sex in shakab or agab. Ahab does not mean love. Pardon me, ahab means love, not sex. Sex and love are two different things. But when a whoremonger, his mindset is to sit there and deal with the aspect when daddy's not there. And mommy had to play mommy and daddy. To give you an example of what I'm talking about. Because remember, right? It talks about this as far as life. Torah speaks about life things. This is not a religious concept. This isn't somebody went down in hell and got the keys and came back. No, this is not the thing. Did you sit there and say something before Anbu or Anubis and everything like? No, no. This is talking about life and death. As is read earlier, is there set before the life, death, blessing, and curse, the good and the evil. All right, and it tells you what to choose. Joshua 24, all right, tells you later on that this day you chose to serve Yah. You know, as a child, that's what made me personally, I may confess before the Most High, stop stealing. I used to be a klepto. You understand? Sat there, oh, so the $5, that's mine. Thank you, I'm $5 richer for finger hand, 5-hand discount. What they call it, 5-finger discount, that kind of thing. I was into that as a teenager and as a kid. You understand what I'm saying? But what made me stop, honestly speaking, as a grown man, I don't do that no more. I haven't done it in years. What made me stop breaking the 8th of the 10 commandments, lo tigno, thou shalt not steal, keeping it 100, is I equated that with anything that's wicked. So therefore, I don't like pork. So I equated anything that I stole exactly with pork. That's what made me stop. So you may want to try to sit there and psychologically do that, whatever iniquity that's clinging to you, because Isaiah chapter 57 or chapter 58, it talks about the fetters of wickedness. Fetters is like an iron chain, you may say. You understand, like a fetter. And what that is in that particular regard is something that you just drag around with you. Like it says, people laden with iniquity. When you're laden with something, it means it's a burden. And that's exactly what the people are dealing with. All right. So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right, let's us go in. We're going to use the Apocrypha right here to get into a particular subject. All right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 20, chapter 26, verse 22. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 26, verse 22. A harlot shall be accounted as spit, for a married woman is a tower against death to a husband. Do you realize, if you even take statistics, that most people who are incarcerated are not married? I want to read this again. And I'm not trying to snap on brothers who are incarcerated because some are incarcerated unjustly. All right? A harlot shall be accounted as spit, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. A married woman, be'ula, if you will, nesuya, if you will, is a migdal, a tower. Migdal from the word gadal, which means to be great, to grow. In some ways, you can say grow. Against death to her husband. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. So if you a man who like, yo, all these chicks I wind up getting, they ain't no good. You might want to look at self. It says a wicked woman is given as portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Most High. So this culture for the sisters is bum and the N-word repellent. For the brothers, this culture is hood rat and whore repellent. What's that on your shirt? I can't mess with you. Toda Yah, bless Yah. You understand? What is that on your shirt? Do you got those things on? You can't come out this Friday night? That kind of thing? I can't. It's the Sabbath. You can study. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna study. Shalom, sister. Hope everything be all right with you. But pray for your people. Don't sit there and because you have a certain light that he or she or the other person he or she may not have. You don't exalt yourself over your brother or your sister. You don't say that. while you're still all in captivity anyway. But at the same token, we want to sit there and point out these kind of things. This culture right here for the brothers is whore and hood rat repellent. When it speaks about the priest is not to marry a profane woman. If you have a situation and you don't know exactly what's going on with your household, that's not what's up. That's not good. You understand? It is a man's concept that said that the angels in heaven had a fight and that they were cast down and banished and all that. No, that did not happen. Man not acknowledging that he's the only creation of the Most High that went straight from the correct order is going to tell you, well, up there they did it. No, it's only you. Humans, mankind, females included, are the only creatures of the Most High that actually got displaced from their own land, that actually lost something, that was actually scattered from their own people. That's what happened in that particular regard. There was no, he became Satan and he was cast down and he took other angels with him. No, no, that's man's concept because man refused to see that man is the only one that actually went against the Most High. All right, so we want that to be noted. You know, the Father likes responsibility and accountability. Do you know you can get out of trouble in that particular regard by just confessing to something? Yes, I did it, and so forth and so on, as opposed to doing no offense intended, like Adam and Hawa or Adam and Eve did. The woman you gave me, as if it's the Most High's fault. Yet the woman you gave me, and then Eve is saying, well, the serpent begot. No, no, did you eat from what I told you not to eat? Why are you mentioning somebody else? I remember in relationships, those kind of things can sit there and bring more problems into an argument that's not necessary. When the focus is on you, don't try to deflect it. Acknowledge it. If you're innocent of it, prove your case to the best of your ability. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're guilty of it, just confess, and everything can sit there and be a lot smoother as opposed to, well, I'm gonna sit there and duck, dodge, and hide, and I'm gonna sit there and get over, and so forth and so on. There's no wriggling around and getting over with the Most High God. There's no wisdom, no understanding against Yah. That's in Proverbs. So we want this to be noted for edification purposes. What is the solution for our people? Tells you right here in this very same scriptures they call the Old Testament. All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 40. I'm going to show you here, blessed be the Most High, what the solution is for the black man, woman, and child in the Western Hemisphere. And it reads this as follows. And they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers, and their treachery, which they have committed against me, and also that they have walked contrary unto me. I will also walk contrary unto them, and bring them into the land of their enemies. If then perchance their uncircumcised heart be humbled, and if they then be paid the punishment of their iniquity, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and my covenant with Isaac, and my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. That is in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 40 to verse 42. Everything the Most High said came to pass. Let there be light, there's light. Let there be a great light in the heavens, the sun, that's there. Let there be the lesser light to rule the night, the moon, is there. So the things that the Most High state come to pass. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. All right. I will greatly multiply thy pain and travail. Ask women who gave birth. So we want that to be noted for edification purposes. Thou shalt eat by the sweat of your brow. Ask the people who do so what it is and what happens when you don't work, you don't eat. When you don't work, not to be funny, you're broke. Things that are broke don't work. When you don't work, you broke. 6 days shalt thou labor. This is culture. This ain't religion. Where you get religion out of working? So we just want that to be noted for edification purposes. So let's go on. We are in Deuteronomy chapter 11, and we're going to close out. All right? Deuteronomy 11:20. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children, upon the land which Yah swore unto thy fathers to give them, as the days of the heavens above the earth. For if you would diligently keep all the commandments which I command you to do it, to love Yah Elohim, the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways and to cleave unto him, then will the Lord drive out these nations from before thee,
and shall dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourselves. And ye shall dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourselves. Every place whereon the sole of thy foot shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness in Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the hinder sea shall be your border. The hinder sea is talking about the Mediterranean, all right? Um, there shall no man be able to stand against you. The Lord thy God, Yah Eloheka, shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he has spoken unto you. So the Most High would be the one to do the makara, or the battle, or the milkama, or the war for the house of the children of Israel. We just have to sit there and do our part. All right, I want that to be noted for edification purposes. Giving honor due respect to Yah, creator, maker of heaven and earth. Thus ends the portion. Equeb, and I'm thankful on a human level. Giving a lot of respect to Elder Nasi Zipporah, to my beautiful brother and friend Chief Malachi, who assists us in these kind of things, to the brother Chief Yashar, who actually is the ground man and the ground worker that is behind the scenes, that actually cause these things to come into fruition on a human level. This book here, for those interested, did the Torah come from the culture Tameri. Book dropped April of last year. Gets into the Exodus, gets into the Pharaoh of the Exodus, gets into Exodus 13, gets into Deuteronomy chapter 29, gets into Deuteronomy 28:68 as well, and so forth. Available online by this name for those who are interested. Then there's this book, Deuteronomy 28:15-68, which actually made YouTube videos, believe it or not. Thankful to the Most High for that. The condition of the blacks. Now, I want to state this. When it says history untold to the masses, the second chapter in this book is what authors' unwritten rule called looping. So you will sit there and see a lot of subtitles. So it may go from one subject talking about um, um, medieval history, Africa, and then they'll go and sit there and show you the Israelites scattering into Africa from the era of the Romans. But this book right here in the second chapter, because a lot of people were saying about the way it was written, I want to state it's called an unwritten term among authors. It's not a legal term, but we refer to it on the low, you may say, as looping. So we do it like that, so that way you can just see the subtitle, so that way you already know what it is. If you go in a book entitled From Slavery to Freedom by Moss, M-O-S-S, you see that same kind of thing. Within one chapter, you see sub-chapters within it. So we want that to be noted for reference purposes. This book here, which seems to be the most controversial among many, is Old Testament Hebrews Respond. Why are there non-messianics? Now, I want to talk about this for a second. You got people who want to sit there and try to take shots or be disrespectful. Ain't going to spend too much time on that. It's immature, to be quite candid. But I want to sit there and state to the people, speaking on Shema Yisrael channel, that we're not ducking for messianic prophecies. I want you to hear this clearly. We are not ducking for messianic prophecies. See, this book right here was written, excuse me, over a month ago. I want to go over a part of this. The matter of sacrifices, as you see right there in the table of contents. Jeremiah 31, which they say is a messianic prophecy. Isaiah 7, which they say is messianic prophecy. Deuteronomy 18, which they say is messianic prophecy. Then we have in chapter 7, said prophecies of Jesus explained. Goes into Isaiah 53, goes into Daniel 7, goes into Proverbs chapter 30, verses 4 and 5. So we're not ducking for messianic prophecy. We're pumping literature out concerning this. We got brothers in the street talking about this kind of subject. Let's read something and close out. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. Show you that the word of the Most High, the great tribulations that we eyes have seen, has come to pass in this part too. Great don't mean good. Let's remember that. And it says this: and the Most High shall scatter thee among all peoples, from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. And there thou shalt serve other gods which thou hast not known, Thou know thy fathers, even wood and stone. That's right there in Deuteronomy 28. So we were scattered from our land, and then we serve gods of wood and stone. Why are you trying to find Jesus in the Old Testament and don't take the same energy to try to show the Most High in the New Testament? These messianic prophecies, what about the godly words in the New Testament? Why not attempt to show that, as opposed to trying to bang against Old Testament based brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and elders and children? You understand? By sitting up there saying that we're going to show you the Messiah in the Old Testament. If you can show me where we are told, not did, but we are told to look for a Messiah or look for an anointed, because that's what Mashiach in Hebrew, transliterated in English as Messiah, which means anointed. If we are told to ever sit there and look for a Messiah, or did it say, let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous man his thoughts, in Isaiah chapter 55. So with that, I say thank you for the time. The comment board is open for those who may like or dislike or so. Open to constructive criticism as well. Shalom.